Hey folks, Dr. Mike Israel here for Renaissance Periodization. Today's topic is how to spot a fad diet, how you can tell, more times than not, that a diet that maybe your family has said, hey, have you heard about the Dr. Dickweed diet? And you're like, well, it's actually great. You know, shit like that at parties and hangouts and just scrolling the internet, or maybe you're interested in doing a diet and you're like, I wonder if there's any merit. Good news is that a lot of the features of the diet, and especially how it's presented, can tell you, probabilistically of course, whether or not it has a high or low probability of being a fad and thus totally a waste of your time. So, I count like at least 8 decent signs, and certainly there are more, of if the diet you were looking at is a fad. A lot of this applies to training as well, but diet's just a very, very easy one to do. So these are not in any order of importance, by the way. All 8 are treated roughly equally. If you see any of these signs, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a fad diet on your hands, but it means that maybe you do more likely than not. So here's the first sign. Exotic claims. Like any diet that says you can drop like 50 pounds in a month, automatically you got to get your skeptical eyebrow. Is that really true? Now, that may be true. Maybe they've figured out something really crazy, but less likely than the fact that they're just peddling bullshit. So every time you see really exotic claims, you got to wonder. Now, there's a bit of a catch-22 there because companies are trying to advertise their best results, the most exotic results, like it's just like dressing up and brushing your hair for, school photo day. You want to look your best, right? Diet companies want to make sure they present their best, have their best foot forward. So they tend to exaggerate sometimes or just fractionally put out their top 100 best transformations or something, which is cool. But, by exotic claims, we don't mean just like, oh, wow, that's really impressive, but I see how that could happen. Exotic usually means like, holy crap, really? Like it strains the imagination. I remember I saw one of those YouTube ads that comes up before a bunch of RP videos, actually. It's like, this one change in like how much water you drink. You lose like 40 pounds in a month. And it's like, what? I've been drinking the wrong water? So shit like that, if it's a really exotic claim, if it seems too good to be true, often it is. Not always, but often. Point number 2, sign number 2 of a potential fad diet is when the proponents of the diet really minimize the level of effort you are expected to bring to the equation. So, say, easy fat loss and like barely any effort. One of those like magazines they have in the checkout aisle at the grocery store, like Women's World or Weekly World News, whatever. Like one page is like Sasquatch found. The next page is like Sasquatch pronounced dead. Next page is like this new gluten diet. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to try it all. You just get lean. Here's the thing. Is it possible for a diet to be relatively low effort and promote a really awesome result? Not really. Dieting sucks. That's kind of one of these core pillars that you have to understand. It's part of becoming wise in the diet space, is you understand that exotic claims are probably exaggerated and realistic abilities of a diet to change you can be impressive, but, normalized. And then the second thing you realize is that anytime you're going to have to lose fat or gain muscle, you're going to have to work. That doesn't mean you work blindly until your fingers fall off. There can be easier ways to do things, certainly. But if they minimize the effort to a large extent, like, easiest diet you'll ever have, you won't even know you're dieting. Like, really? If I'm supposed to expect really insane results and the diet is easy as fuck, is this just like the first month of advertising for a company that's such a novel breakthrough that we'll all be using it? Like imagine the first iPhone advertisements were like, hey, like you have a fucking computer in your hand. You can talk to anyone too. And it plays videos. It'd be like, bullshit. There's nothing like that. That's like 3 different devices. And then it's real. You're like, holy fuck. But, fad diet companies don't exactly have a research division with like a $20 billion R&D budget. Usually they're just, lying, right? So if anyone says, hey, like easy fat loss, you got to be like, really? And you want to know some details. Again, it's not a guarantee. There's bullshit, but gee whiz, if something's going to be really impressive, but it's really easy to get, why isn't everyone lean? Maybe it's because they haven't found out about this diet yet. Maybe. Unlikely. Next sign number 3, that your diet you're looking at is a fad diet, is when it demonizes the establishment. Doctors don't want you to know about this new revolutionary fat loss formula. Man, those fucking doctors. Everything I try to do in my life stopped dead in my tracks by doctors. I was going 65 and a 55. Fucking doctor pulled me over. He was like, well, the American Academy of Sports Physiologists. Like, shut up, right? Damn doctors. And for some reason, they don't want you to know about this incredible fat loss pill because you see they're in the pockets of big pharma, even though doctors are not directly incentivized to prescribe you medications. And if this pill worked, they would just prescribe you the fucking pill, or they would just tell you, hey, like, there's this pill. Go try this pill, right? It works. But when you have to say the establishment sucks, it means maybe you were not accepted to the establishment because by its conventional methodologies of testing and verification, maybe your diet sucks or doesn't actually work. And also, they play on this thing by demonizing the establishment and oftentimes making doctors or personal trainers out there. They don't want you to know the secret. It really pulls on our heartstrings of a combativeness. Humans like a certain bit of conflict, and they like to kind of watch conflict. That's why we watch sports, and it's very interesting. So when they say, well, this is these doctors and this mega diet company that's good and providing this great fat loss, but these doctors are evil, you're like, whoa, cool. I want to try it. And if it's good enough to ban, or if doctors are super busy and they're super loaded, they take time out of their busy schedules to demonize this thing, and maybe it's really got something to it. But it's a very easy rhetorical device. A lot of times when they say doctors don't want you to know, there's two reasons for that. One, they just made it up. Doctors don't give a fuck. Like, hey, doc, why are you suppressing evidence about the ultra lean 1000 protocol? They're going to be like, what? I don't know what the fuck that is. Or they do know what it is, and they're like, it's bullshit, because it's bullshit. And they're right. Now, of course, sometimes doctors poo-poo things that actually do work, and sometimes it's for their own vicious self-interests. But again, unlikely. The average fad out of every 100 potential fad diets, maybe one of them is really actually pretty good, and doctors poo-poo it for no reason. That does happen. Number 4, demonizing entire food groups. Here's the cool thing about dieting. As a scientific field, dieting is pretty well understood at this point. Not completely well understood, not very well understood, just pretty well. And we have some pillars, some basics that we know that have so much evidence in favor of them and so little against that is probably getting somewhere close to the real truth of the universe. And one of those pillars is that specific foods are almost never the cause of excess body fat, and food groups like carbs or proteins or fats or veggies or grains, definitely grains, are almost never the cause, nor is their removal the solution of any kind of grand health or appearance change that you want on your body. So if a diet's like, look, carbs are the enemy and you got to get rid of them, you got to be like, fuck, man, really? There's all these like ultramarathon runners and just healthy people that are like vegan and yoga and shit, and they eat shitload of carbs all the time. They're lean and they seem happy. It even appears that they often have sex. You can tell on their faces they have this glow. It's the opposite of my face. Figure that one out. So if we know from a scientific perspective that demonizing food groups is just probably not pointing to the truth, if a diet you're looking at maybe is a fad, if it's doing that, it's bad news. Bad news. Which automatically makes the carnivore diet a fad diet. Any kind of keto diet, fad diet. To a large extent, many approaches to veganism are faddish. Animal protein's bad for you. Like, really, how bad? Like, it's the worst. The meta-analyses say it's barely bad at all, and potentially in the context of a well-balanced diet, not bad at all. They're like, nonsense. Animals are bad for you. Like, just say they're bad for the environment. That's already true. Just say it's unethical to eat them. That's super true. They got to have that one thing. It's got to be bad for you too. And that's unfortunately sometimes puts them into fat category. Next, number 5 reason that your diet could be faddish is the one ingredient cause. One fucking thing. Your whole diet's great. Even though you IV inject pizza on the weekends. Who cares? You're human. The real cause of your being a fat piece of shit is gluten. Mm-hmm. You see, the gluten molecules, they go in the blood. And then you get fat. That's just how it happens. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. But I swear those doctors are trying to keep something from us, and it's fucking gluten, right? This could be elimination or inclusion. So the inclusion of gluten in your diet is making you fat. If a diet company says that, and they're trying to sell you their own diet, free from gluten, of course, as any responsible diet would be, you got to be skeptical about that. What the fuck? Really? Really? One fucking thing? It doesn't have to be gluten. It could be 10 trillion other things. And they come in their own fad waves, and companies will latch onto them. A couple months back, I was getting a lot of questions. Nobody ever reached out to me. I'm making this up. About, you guys probably remember the anti-nutrients? Like there are components like found in rice and pasta that can interfere at high concentrations with the absorptions of the nutrients in rice and pasta. So that's the real big problem in the world, is people getting fat because they're not absorbing enough nutrients. I thought it was backwards, but who cares? Anti-nutrients for a while, the fucking cause of every problem. Just one thing. So you take like a trucker who eats like fucking beef jerky and ho-hos. You guys, amazing. No judging. Truckers are making a fine decision. Well, Pepsi, ho-hos, beef jerky, slice of pizza, hot dog, repeat. If you just take anti-nutrients out of the motherfucker's diet, he's going to be like, Scott the video guy, what's a good physical role model for Hollywood? Thor. Fucking Thor with his biceps and those abs. Ooh, and the lower abs from where he does the sex to people. I love that muscle. And it's just what's beta. And the trucker's going to be like, I can't fucking believe it. I was poisoning myself with anti-nutrients, and they were, through a series of as yet undetermined steps, making me fat. This is not how it fucking works. What makes you fat? Eating too many calories, usually through a variety of junk foods, which make eating too many calories easy. Ta-da! I know, it sounds fucking crazy. It's not gluten, okay? Why isn't it gluten? Well, we actually know that they've studied the series of studies about 5 to 10 years ago where the gluten craze was getting really crazy and everyone was gluten intolerant. Then they did blinded studies where they told people like, hey, you're gluten intolerant, right? They're like, yeah. Like, well, here's this thing. It doesn't have any gluten in it. You should eat it. It'll be great. And they eat it and they watch them for like 3 hours. And like, any GI distress? They're like, no, it was great. They're like, okay, guess what? That thing was made of fucking 50% gluten. And they're like, no. And they probably walk out of the office like, fuck, was I lying to myself? I could eat pizza, right? A lot of times people be like, oh man, I'm really bloated from all this gluten I'm eating. And it's like, how are you getting your gluten? They're like, well, the cheesy breadsticks from Little Caesars. How the fuck else are you supposed to get gluten? They're like, how many of those did you have? They're like, I don't really count them. 90, maybe 80 something, not 90, 80 something, 80 something, 500 calorie sticks per night. Yeah, that'll get you bloated. It's not the fucking gluten. Inclusion is also a thing. So a lot of greens companies. Now, here's the thing. Powdered greens are fucking sweet. They help you get some vitamins and minerals. They're fine. But they're not exactly the fucking solution to all your health problems. They're sure as hell not going to make you magically lean. Like, again, you look at someone who's like Jabba the Hutt style physique, and you're like, oh. And you're like, greens? Do you want greens? And they're like, oh, no need greens, Ocho, Han Solo. And they eat the greens and they're just shredded to bits. Like, no. They just give you a couple vitamins and minerals, and sometimes not even so well. You'll be the same level of fat, just with more vitamins and minerals. So a lot of times if there's a secret ingredient that claims to revolutionize everything, or we found the one thing that in your diet that we remove, everything sort of comes together and you get super lean, real big signs of bullshit. So definitely watch out for those. Number 6, this one hits personally close to home. The genius inventor claim. Like this one lone scientist invented this solution to fat loss. And usually a couple of these layered on, one lone scientist, and the doctors and personal trainers hate him because he's cracked the code to fat loss, which I'm skipping ahead. That's our next fallacy. We'll talk about that in a sec. So the genius inventor thing's kind of interesting because most effective products really kind of tend to sell themselves. Like, yeah, whatever. I designed the RP Diet app. You don't really hear me saying that much because the fucking app works by itself. It tells you to eat less healthy food over time and you get lean. That's how it works, by the way. So, there's no need to go parading my dumb ass around and be like, this brilliant PhD solved the fucking fat loss problem. I didn't do any of that shit. Because the product works on its own. And if you have to wonder if the product doesn't work on its own, then how do you bolster the product and bolster sales? You got to have an angle. And one of the angles is the genius inventor. Like, fundamentally, why are so many Teslas being purchased? I tell you what, man, Elon Musk's fucking great. Huge fan. I'm not paying $70,000 fucking dollars because I'm a fan of some motherfucker. Unless there's, I don't know if we'll get banned for this, sexual favors involved, then maybe, 70,000. That's a high volume of favors, so to speak. But in any case, like, I'm not buying a fucking Tesla because Elon Musk is the man, even though he is. I'm going to need that motherfucker to work well. You'll notice, well, first of all, Tesla doesn't really do any advertising, but any of their like shit that you see, like the company logo on buildings and variety of other media outlets they have, and just physically their cars, like Elon Musk face isn't on that shit. It's just fucking Tesla is a fucking T. That's it. It's like, why would you buy one? Because it's fucking sweet. It's electric and it's faster than every other car, and the charge is great or whatever. As you can tell, I'm an enormous Tesla fan. It's a fine car. It's a great car. So the genius inventors thing, you got to wonder if they really talk shit about how fucking genius the inventor is. Maybe the product isn't as good. Now, maybe again, all of these standalone could be making an amazing product that's totally worth your time. But if you check enough of these boxes, you start to wonder, fuck, man, am I being lied to? And genius inventor, especially really over leveraged, especially exaggerated. Like, if we went like Dr. Mike, the most brilliant man in the world, like, they'll say shit like that with fat loss diets. Like this one guy, like rediscovered physics, like fuck. Which brings me to the next point. Number 7. The code crack fallacy is a general idea that what is keeping you from what you want to be lean, is keeping you from what you want and keeping you in the state of what you currently are, what is, fatter than you'd like to be, is some kind of puzzle where one little tweak, boop, and the whole fucking code opens up, and now it's easy, free living to be as lean as you want. This is very, very common. Just 3 simple foods that when you eat them in the right fucking proportions, you'll be leaner than fucking a greyhound. Interesting ad if that was ever made. So the thing is that a lot of times, in hard problems, we kind of tend to know what the general solution looks like, but all of the vectors towards the answer require quite a bit of work or organizational effort. And they're launching like fucking rockets to space. Again, Elon Musk. It's not like they're like, oh man, as soon as we found how the fucking flux capacitor works, the fucking rockets were easy. Like, no, it's 50 trillion engineering problems at every turn. It's fucking hard. And the reason, the closest you come to the code crack fallacy being real in diets and fat loss is like, I learned how to count calories. One easy trick. I'm fucking lean. Like, yeah, it's a trick, all right. It's not that easy. It's not just you solve the puzzle piece, shit goes into place. You're like, fuck, I have to solve this puzzle every day. Lucky I have my RP diet app to do it with. Buy one. I need a Lambo. Another Lambo. Of course, I have 18 already. So be careful when you're presented with what diet, science doesn't know is that this specific collagen protein or fucking, oh man, there was this one a few years back, bone broth. Fuck! If you just had bone broth, it would link everything together and fucking fix your ass up. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Number 8. This is actually the biggest one. I saved the best for last. Violates fundamentals of physiology. Like when people say, it doesn't matter how much food you eat. I've actually seen that in a magazine. Eat anything you want, lose like 10 pounds a week. Anything I want? They didn't specify in what quantity, I suppose. We can let them slip out on that one. But a lot of times people will straight violate the fundamentals, like thermodynamics. Never loses. It never loses, but it has never lost. Maybe in the future it will lose. Maybe you'll be the first to discover how it does so. But until that happens, you can't eat 10 pizzas a day and lose weight. Sorry. A lot of diets will claim that, you don't have to count calories at all. Don't worry about XYZ. And it's like, fuck, man. I thought that was like the core of dieting. Like, nah, bullshit. Well, maybe. Maybe that'd be really nice to just eat whatever, violate the laws of thermodynamics, and somehow still come out super lean, but it's unlikely. So all of these together are very powerful. I'll tell you this, if you have a diet that checks all these boxes, don't buy it. Tell your family that's really excited about it and your friends not to buy it. If it checks 1 or 2 of these, maybe worth a bit of a closer look, because sometimes, some really good diets do check a few of these and, they actually turn out to work quite well. Not likely, but possible. Folks, what have I missed? What other signs in diet and training and any kind of advertising presentation, when you look at, are you like, sounds like bullshit? Throw some in the comments. Give us a like. You know what I'm saying? YouTube shit. Give us a sub if you haven't subbed already. And if you've subbed already, sub again. That's not how it works, is it? Folks, stay true, stay loving, stay pure. Namaste. See you next time.